Moving on, Sam Darnold gets traded from the Jets to the Carolina Panthers.
This is huge. It's a huge piece of news.
Yeah, it was expected. Obviously, Sam Darnold being traded, where he was going to end up, no one really knew. Carolina was a bit of a shocker, in my opinion. They ended up getting him for borderline nothing. I want to say
that second round pick is probably the biggest asset they had to give away, but even that is not, that's not horrible, I guess.
No. So a 6th rounder this year, and then a 2nd and a 4th rounder next year. And it's like, who cares about the 6th rounder? And a 4th rounder is, you could probably get some good players in there, probably not. And then a 2nd rounder, that's pretty decent. So
before I get your thoughts on the trade itself, like whether or not it was a good value for them to do this, I just want to note that we touched on our last show that San Fran traded up to 3.
Yeah.
So, presumably as of the time of this recording, quarterback's going to go 1, 2, 3 in this draft. And Carolina reportedly was kind of flirting with trading up to get someone too. And that this is a pretty good class with the top 3. But really, they're going to have very limited options at their spot. I think they're picking at 7 initially to, potentially have a quarterback. And I don't think they just liked who was going to be available. And they saw Darnold as a better option than the 4th or 5th best quarterback on the board. If that person even fell to them, I don't think they wanted to go into this year with Teddy B again. He's not that Teddy B is a horrible quarterback or anything, but he's just not. He's not going to lift your team up really from anything. He's just going to kind of hold down the fort and be a dependable starter. So I guess Darnold's an upgrade, from that perspective. He's definitely an upgrade over Teddy B. But do you think that he is a better solution than potentially have rolled the dice and see if they could have waited and gotten to Trey Lance or whoever else could be there potentially in the draft?
I think it was a good move. It's reassurance. And they very well could not have liked Mac Jones or Trey Lance. But yeah, I like the move. I think it was smart for Carolina to do that. They don't need him to be something, sensational. They don't need him to be a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or anything like that. Because, they have the workhorse. It's Christian McCaffrey, obviously, if he can stay healthy. That's his biggest question mark. But I think that he's a good quarterback. I think that he'll step out of the shell a little bit in Carolina and do some good. But I do like the idea that – are they really picking 7th? I thought they were picking 9th.
Either 7 or 9. I think
we're 7.
Oh, yeah. The Detroit Lions are 7. They're picking they're picking a little bit further back.
I think they're 9.
Mixed up. Yeah, I think they're at 9. So that's even worse.
Yeah.
Even worse option.
Yeah, that is definitely a roll of the dice at 9, especially because, you got 3 going right out the gate. And then I think Atlanta's still up in the air. I am now actually leaning more towards the idea that they're not going to take a quarterback.
That seems to be the general consensus as of right now.
And I don't think Cincinnati obviously won't take one. Miami won't take one. I think we're like the real wild card there at 7 because nobody really knows if we're going to take a quarterback or not. And I don't remember who's picking 8th. So, they could have rolled the dice and it might have worked out in their favor, and they still might take one. Who knows?
That'd be pretty incredible if they took one still. They would have to be their exact guy fell in their lap somehow, in my opinion, because think about if they've got an option to take one of the top receivers that's still there, or so one of the top defensive players still there. They can't take another quarterback on a team that's like pretty heavily rebuilding right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a good value for Darnold. The dude was the 3rd overall pick in the draft 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's still very young. He was on a horrible Jets team. I won't get too much into the weeds with Darnold because our segment this week is kind of going into quarterbacks. But overall, I think it was a pretty good move. It didn't have to give up the farm to have at least a solution.
That's the best part about it is, you don't have to give up that much for somebody that can play.
He's got a lot to prove, though.
Yeah,
so.
Obviously. But
one last thing I want to say on Darnold before we move on here is that I don't know if it's the fact just that the Panthers haven't had a white dude at quarterback in a while, but like I saw a Photoshop mock-up of him.
Alone, right?
Well, I saw a Photoshop mock-up of Darnold in the Panthers jersey and uniform and stuff, and I swear to God, he looked exactly like Jimmy Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen was
like
the last one.
100% the same.
Right.
Like it was so weird. Like even their faces are kind of similar.
The shoe fits.
It's really weird. It's such as an odd note, but
yeah, that is strange. There was one other thing that I wanted to touch on. I think it's because I'm not going to rule out them taking a quarterback because I'm almost positive rookie or Darnold is still on his rookie deal.
He is.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're not paying him an astronomical amount. And if they want to take a quarterback, it's not that huge of a cap hit for them. They could just wipe Darnold and once his contract's up and then move on with this other guy. So,
well, but then you're wasting quite a few draft picks at that point. I mean,
absolutely.
I think you have to see what you have with him unless the perfect guy is sitting there at their pick and they have a chance to take him.
But I mean, like if you can pass up on your a possible franchise quarterback, I think you roll the dice on it.
But that's the thing. I think everyone past the top three, I think that's a question mark if these guys are franchise savior quarterbacks. I don't know if they are. I think the three guys that everyone's talking about at the top, Lawrence, Wilson, and not Trey Lance, the kid from Ohio State. Justin Fields. I think everyone's talking about them as being
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, no doubt those guys are going to change their franchise. The other ones, I feel like they're a little bit more question marks. So I think Darnold's just as much of a question mark as any of those three.
Yeah, that's a good point.